pleasure to be here, and especially to be able to focus on the topic of mobile technology. If we could go to the next slide. On my slide. Oh, I guess I do that. Sorry. So I'm so delighted to have this opportunity, and I'm going to keep this moving quickly since I only have 12 minutes. So I wanted to frame it with what we've learned and the challenges that we still face. The AAP has recommended screening for all children at 18 and 24 months since 2007. And autism can be diagnosed by trained diagnosticians by 18 to 24 months of age. And the bad news, as we heard in the previous presentation, the median age of diagnosis in the US still hovers at 4 to 5 years and hasn't changed in more than a decade. So although we're finding more younger, more older, the fact that the median hasn't changed is still a concern. And worse is the notion that our disparities are shown. Children from minority, low-income, and rural families are diagnosed a year to 3 years later, which may mean not having any opportunity for early intervention. So I'm going to touch on mobile technology that we've been developing and that we have available. I'm going to cover prototypes to improve early signs, intensity, getting started early and why that's so important, and then getting started right away. So the first thing I want to touch on is how a solution that we hope will help is to show you what the early milestones and early signs of autism look like with photos and videos. And so I want you to first consider, I'm a speech language pathologist, how do children learn the names of things? And let's use the example of dog, which is usually in the first 10 words, or cat, if you're a cat person. So if we think about a list of features, it doesn't work. To learn that a dog has 4 legs and fur and barks simply doesn't work, because we have dogs with a lot of hair, no hair. We have dogs who don't bark. We have dogs with no tails. And how do you know that these are not dogs? And are these really dogs? I'm going to explain that comment in a moment. So children don't learn words, which are really concepts and categories every word falls into. They don't learn them by the list. And most of the work that we do in autism, we start with a list of features. So maybe we can learn from this. Children learn words and concepts by prototypes or best examples. And the first example becomes your first prototype, and then is shaped as you encounter more and more. And so the boundaries of our categories really vary from person to person, but we have the common core that we agree on in the meanings of words. So my best example of a dog is a standard poodle, because I grew up with one. And these are my poodles now. And so for me, like a Chihuahua just doesn't, it's barely on the outer edge, sorry. And again, if you have a Chihuahua, you might not see these as. So how can we use mobile technology to teach prototypes of early signs of autism? Because simply reading lists isn't getting us where we need to go. I want to play you 30 seconds of this little one just to introduce you to a prototype. And a key in identifying seeing the early signs is to notice what is the child paying attention to and what are they doing with their hands.
Reach all down. Spoon and family are all gone. Spoon's all gone. Oh boy, now it's a whisk. 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 That's a whisk. Whisk. Whisk.
So in just 30 seconds, you're seeing a lot of examples of what is, what are features of autism. And then you also notice mom is working way too hard and not yielding a lot of social interaction. So we have a number of resources. Look for our lookbooks. They're online, they're free, you can go to them. We have photos of many examples of early signs of autism. We have an elevator pitch if you have 2 minutes to learn and see side by side, typical in a 16-month-old. We have another minute, which you just saw LB, you can get to on Baby Navigator. We have our signature course about autism in toddlers. And we show 12 different examples of toddlers with autism, so you can see. And then we have our video glossary that we developed way back, I think it was 2007, way back. And we have 100 pairs of video clips contrasting the features. So we hope that that's going to help you picture that prototype, because you may never have encountered a really little one with autism. So secondly, we have developed a coaching model that we think is really going to help address the intensity needed to truly change outcomes of children with autism. So the research suggests that because the symptoms of autism can interfere with learning, that we need more intensive, like 25 hours a week is what's recommended from the research. But that means that the child is engaged actively and productively in meaningful activities. So we think about early intervention. This one marble represents 1 hour a week. That is kind of the average in our country of what we provide. The 167 marbles in the other jar represent the number of hours that go by before the interventionist is going to come back. And so what really matters is the time between intervention sessions. So we developed the ESI model. We published our first RCT in 2014, and it is designed to coach parents on how to build their child's first taking on a productive role in all these different kinds of everyday activities that parents are already doing to support their child's learning. And we also can do this mobily. This shows, you see the little picture above the sink is the interventionist mobiling in to coach the parent. And so then we build out the activities to have more and more productive roles. And that was a 7-minute activity. That's how we get the intensity. And so my third quick point is the importance of early. Here's a really interesting, I would call it an amazing fact. Did you know that, well, first of all, babies are born with 100 billion neurons, and all of us are, and brain development is actually a pruning process of those neurons. In the first 2 years of life, babies form 1 million new synaptic connections, not per hour, not per minute, but per second. And that is going on in the first 2 years, and it sculpts the brain. So there's a very rapid development, formation of synaptic connections, maturation of neurons, and continued plasticity allows the environment to have the greatest impact during these first 2 years. We've developed social communication milestones based on the 10th to 16th percentile, based on our evidence that we used, from 1 to 24 months of age. I want to show you another 30 seconds. And I want you to think about it as you're watching this. This is just, this is our milestone. I can watch you and imitate what you do and say, this child is forming 30 million synaptic connections as you watch him video. This is a typical developing child. Okay. So we have developed Baby Navigator as a companion. Parents can go there and register and create their own account, babynavigator.com. And then when they have their own account, we have all these different tools that they can get to all in one place. Our social communication growth charts for all families, monthly check-ins. We have lookbooks on gestures and actions that come in very early. We have our new social communication checkup screening tool online, and then our early signs. And then we invite parents to upload video. And then if it ends up looking like suspected autism, we open up our autism specific tools. I'm going to skip this video because I'm running out of time, but this is a 10-month-old that, if you have no questions, I could come back and play it, that mom went to Baby Navigator, joined it because she had just concerns, didn't know, but something's going on. And we got a home video, and started coaching her at 12 months and seeing really significant outcomes. So how do we shift from let's wait and see to let's get started? I want to just mention that I have been so blessed to benefit from Baby Navigator. This is from a photo album that I made for my mom who had dementia. And sorry. The words are to help her understand and remember that she had a great grandbaby. At 8 weeks, everything looked great. Smiling, sharing enjoyment. At 6 months, things looked great. She was just beginning, but a little late in sitting up, but smiling and sharing enjoyment. At 7 months, things started to slip. You can see her clenching her hands. You may not notice it, but I noticed it. Sitting up wasn't really stable yet. Toes are clenched. And by 9 months, the signs were clear. She was not sharing interests or attention. She was not developing her gestures. She wasn't playing. And my daughter's world became upside down. And I bugged her for a month, go to Baby Navigator, fill out the social communication checkup. And she did. And we started coaching her at 10 months. And she's now 21 months. She's walking. I have to say no thanks to the California early intervention system that took 5 months to get a PT to her. She is now looking, sharing interest, sharing enjoyment, has had 50 words by 18 months, which is what children should be able to have if they're in a really good learning environment. And she's now got probably close to 100. She has autism. She has rituals. She has repetitive behavior. She has meltdowns. But her language and social skills are changed and on target. So here's how you can help a family. Visit our new website, Baby Navigator, share it with doctors and anyone you know. It could change a child's life. It could change a baby's life and their outcomes. My last point, and I know I'm over, I gotta go and then open up for questions. We have a package for all families. On Autism Navigator, we have our how-to guide course. Families who were in our ESI treatment study who gave permission for us to share their videos. It's a 15-hour online narrated course with a probably 75% videos illustrating the evidence-based strategies. We have a webinar. We're collaborating with Autism Science Foundation on getting this out there. Any parent who comes to the webinar gets the course for free. If they join Baby Navigator, they get it for free. And a virtual community, we're building an app which should be out this summer, my Autism Navigator app, to give the parents points and to have our inspirational ideas each day. So they'll have up to one a day, 365, and they can journal in it and get points and then get a little modest gift card. Thank you for hanging in with me. Please check out Autism Navigator and Baby Navigator. Any questions? We still have about 5 minutes. Yes.
Question.
Oh, I guess I don't get to call in. I'm sorry.
I could project, but I feel like this might be better. So you mentioned that there are still disparities between rural groups and at-risk minority populations. What are you currently doing to address these and to disseminate information to these groups?
Great question. So we are working with primary care doctors and agencies that particularly reaching out. We just finished a 5-year study reaching out to federally qualified healthcare, and other agencies that serve low-income families. I think that's the key. I think the other key is we need to provide financial incentives, because most of these families are overwhelmed, and they're the kind of work that they have, they don't get time off work without losing pay. And so we really need to think about the investment in all of our families, but particularly those that are low income. I think we're more likely to see bigger changes in those children quicker. It is so worth the investment, because we will pay later. You know the whole story of the cost of autism. We will pay later if we don't act earlier.
Another question here. Sorry. When I first heard years ago talk of parent mediated interventions, it made me very nervous, because I felt like, how much can we ask parents to do? And do parent mediated interventions put too much of the burden of intervention and potential progress on families? And you were the one who convinced me. So can you share with everyone here what it really means to participate in parent mediated intervention as a parent?
And it means so much that you've moved from that position. It truly does. That's huge. You know, and I think if you keep looking at our videos, so what the parents tell us is the first 3 months are a lot of work, because that's when all the learning happens, right? Learning the model, the strategies. And then as you use them, they become secondhand. You just don't even think about it. I know, I see that in my daughter now. I mean, it's really amazing to experience it as a grandmother. So I see the effort she put in, and the payoff is immense. She's so amazed at her baby. And I think having autism makes her all the more amazing. But the fact that she's got, you know, a lot of words is great. And she still has meltdowns, but she'll be able to work through and learn how to regulate her emotion. And the better communication is just going to help that. So I think it's a lot of work at first, but the parents come back and they say, we empowered them. You know, we have a new Department of Defense grant. We're bringing the ESI families back virtually to see their children are now 12 to 16 years of age. So we follow them. We're like Hotel California, you can check in, but you can't check out. We keep following them if the parents will keep coming back. So I'm so excited to see them. We follow them at school age, and the sample had an average IQ of 100. And so there were not all of them were, you know, within not intellectual disability above that, but most of them were. So it's exciting to see the impact on cognitive and language skills, but just success in school. And so the parents come back and say, this has changed our life. This is important. We had one mom, low income, young, who came back to me and said, when we brought her child back at 5, and said, Dr. Wetherby, I'm going to now go to school. I want to become a lawyer to help families with special needs. I mean, this was someone who hadn't even been at junior college when she started. So seeing the impact on the family, it is a lot of work, but you're seeing change. We teach you how to see the change in your child, because we teach these little milestones that are so important, that it keeps you going. But the first 3 months is a lot of work. With our how-to guide now, you know, online, you can learn a lot of it online. We started with 3 sessions a week, and now I think we can do it in 1 plus the online course. So we're trying to be more efficient.
And another question over here.
Somebody had to ask a question on this side of the room.
Where are you? Thank you. Yeah.
As a advocate of an autistic teenager, and on a personal level, someone that struggles with ADHD, I appreciate the presentation because there's a lot of slides. So I thank you for that. I did want to say that when my son was younger, we really experienced in New York the Disney World of early intervention, maybe sometimes too much. But once our son hit puberty, everything changed in a nanosecond. There were no services, no schools, no way. So I'm just wondering if the Navigator addresses puberty. It's difficult, and I'm happy to help because it needs to be spoken about. Thank you.
Yeah, great comments and question. And we often see autism and ADHD co-occurring too. So yeah, so we don't have funding to go on later, but we're trying to get funding. So we have a vision to create Autism Navigator for mentors. We're going to skip middle school and go to high school. And maybe someday come back to men. But I think having mentors in high school, I think our goal is to help more and more children get into general education kindergarten and stay there. Their outcomes are going to be far better. So that's going to, getting that early. But then, and it doesn't mean they don't need help. They just need help within the regular classroom and to be able to learn. But then as we get to high school, it's starting to think about getting ready for a job. And it's those productive roles that you taught when they were toddlers that you are going to help them have job skills. And so we'd like to develop some video training, coaching for mentors, thinking about this huge universe of mentors, grandparents, volunteers, other high school students. My son was a preemie, has cerebral palsy. He wants to be a mentor for students with autism. He's employed fully and completely independent at 37, amazing. So I think the mentorship to really help the student and for the parents to know these are the things to be thinking about when your child's in high school to get them ready. As college professor, we see the struggles when students with autism who go on to college. And so thinking about the bottom line is success in adulthood is getting a job, even if it's 10 hours a week volunteer. Those are the adults that have our quality of life. And so we need to be moving and making that happen with our next generation. So we're hoping to be part of that with you and with ASF.
One last question here.
Okay.
It's actually not
Thank
a
you.
question, more of a comment. Back to the disparities
Yeah.
in diagnosis. I'm wondering if you've considered looking at home visiting agencies as an opportunity to partner and get in
Yes.
early.
Yes.
I know just with my own lived experience in the
Yes.
health department,
Yes.
when you're on Medicaid and you can't get into a primary
Yeah.
care clinic, even with a federally health care
Yeah.
center, because the wait list is just so long. The health departments are only giving shots and are doing no screening. And so those home visiting agencies might be an opportunity to get in.
Yeah. Great question. Great point. We've been doing that for a while. So there's a lot of different, I think in Florida, the legislature, when they funded us, said there's 32 different home visiting systems. Why do you need more money? Because they're not coordinated and they're not trained. So yeah, home visiting, I think that they're key. Many low-income families don't see the same doctor when they return and they don't have a relationship with their doctor. So I think the home visitors, we are just finishing the 5th year of our Autism Center of Excellence network, our ACE network, and we're doing a treatment study training family navigators. So we see a whole new workforce, which could be home visitors, could be parents, could be basically they're not specialists. So we define it as having only a bachelor's, but most may not even have a high school degree. So training them, my vision is that all families, when you have a baby, that you get a family navigator who checks in, could be virtual. That could impact infant mortality and many other things, as well as help parents learn the milestones. But first, it's really sleeping, feeding, and then milestones. So starting from birth, we have just got a new donation. We hope to do a pilot study on that. Right, and the home visitors are key and perhaps more important than the early intervention system, because if you can start early, it doesn't take the intensity that you need as the children get older. So let's make it happen. Thank you.